but you're going to ask me, so it's going to work out, right? Today we have an Ask the Nick Live. As a reminder to you all, as I get everything set up here, although I'm going to, attempt to answer a number of the questions that come up, and I actually have a set of questions from my Patreon patrons as well. My main goal today is just sort of to interact with you folks. So if I miss your question, I apologize deeply, and if I can't get around to your particular question, or maybe choose not to, depending on what's going on, please don't take that personally. The other thing, I'm just going to ask you gently, if I don't answer your question, just don't keep repeating it louder, right? Yeah, there's a point where you can resend it, but it gets a little bit annoying at time to time. Come off, Ed. Where is my freaking live show? I'm trying to pull this up on the YouTube app on the iPad so I got a slightly better view of what's going on. Here we go. My current live stream's beautiful. All right, I'm seeing everybody. And of course, if you want to make sure that I see your question, you're welcome to use the YouTube Super Chat functionality to make your question just a little bit more super. Speaking of super, let's put some super gear down on the table here. So that way people can have something attractive to look at rather than just my, oh my God, fiddly hands. Let's drop the busker on the scene here. Hi, everybody. Yeah, relationship advice? Sure, I'll give it a shot. I'm weird, so, yeah, hashtag trust issues. But aside from that, yeah, I'm very happy to talk with you all about that. Whatever questions you have, feel free to go on ahead and drop them. But in the way that just to get started here, I've got a couple of questions from my Patreon patrons, because I gave them the opportunity, and one that I want to, or a couple that I want to jump into immediately. To start with, one of the very common questions that I get is, will there be a little Nick one of these days soon? And the question, the answer to that question is, God, I hope not. Both the wife and I have taken very strong surgical efforts to prevent this whole situation. I'm not interested in having kids. I am all set there. Rather, this genetic code ends here. So that's the one area of life I will not be able to help you out with. Child rearing, my general solution is medical experiments for the lot of them. It's a Monty Python joke, by the way, I think. Yeah. Anyways, so there is that. Other questions. When is Gear Geeks Live returning is another common question I'm getting. And the answer to that is as soon as it can. Both Tony Scullambrini and I are very busy. And we're working on some tech issues, but we both have the strong desire to keep chatting and keep that up going. It's just been a very busy time for both of us. So that, oh God, Slicey Dicey's here. Here goes the neighborhood. Right. Hey, good to see you, Slicey. Okay. So let's see here. Lots of good questions jumping in already. Oh, hey, Connor, good to see you. What all do we got here? Did two reveals on Real Steel. One was a Megalodon. The other was, it sounds like I've warmed up to him a little bit. Yeah, I think I have. What else? The Luna slip joint I have right here. They are a company that I think has they've improved their distributor network. They've been doing more in the way of interesting original designs. I'm very happy to see companies kind of move out of that realm of sort of very drop shippy, very, buy it on AliExpress and move into more conventional worlds. And of course, Real Steel is working from the same factory as some other heavy hitters. Ruwaiki is there. It's all San Renmu to the best of my knowledge. But nonetheless, Real Steel's a company I definitely plan to see more of on the channel whenever they drop some. Oh, hey, Treddy. Good to see you. The sky is my oyster. Yeah, that's going to become a thing. Let's see here. Thoughts on ProTech Malibu versus TRM Adam? Well, they're very different knives, right? One's a flipper. One's not. One is an incredibly thin and slicey beast. The other is a little bit on the thicker side. I feel like both of these are gems. It's just a question of what you desire in your life. Button lock versus liner lock. If I had to just choose one, I might go Adam, just because a super thin, slicey is really my jam. But at the same time, I'm glad I don't have to choose one. We'll go on ahead and put it that away. Let's see here. What is the best combat fighting knife? That's kind of like asking a fish what the best bicycle is. I have absolutely no understanding of armed combat in that classical sense, right? And I imagine the right answer to that question actually depends a great deal on the amount of training in whatever discipline you have, right? Because remember that there is no such thing as a combat knife that doesn't involve a great deal of training to be able to be proficient with it, right? Anybody who's carrying a knife for self-defense without a great deal of training to do it is, well, that's not a great idea. So I would recommend that you go out and you start taking martial arts. If that's really your jam, if you want to get into the combat world, take martial arts, take some kind of training on that, and then see what kind works best for your world. As for me, I can't really recommend you anything because what the heck do I know about it, right? So that's that's a good question, fair question, but not one I'm going to be able to answer. Let's see here. I got a question here. What is the best EDC button lock? Not the Malibu. Yeah, in my opinion. Okay, best non-Malibu button locks out there. Made a couple of good ones. The Slim Pickens from Alliance Designs is definitely coming to mind a little bit for me. But I'm also kind of like that. Who else is doing good button locks? I mean, any of the ProTech autos are good button locks. The CRKT Titec 2 Tanto is got a really obnoxious name, but it's a pretty good cheap button lock sort of thing. There were a lot of good options there. But I would still point you toward the Malibu all day long, right? It's like saying, what's the best thing for a human to eat that isn't food, right? Yeah, there are lots of other options. One thing, though, I am excited about is that a lot of the more budget-focused brands, especially from overseas, are now kind of picking up on button locks as an idea. I think Civivi has started button locking, and I think it's a lock that's on the way up, so to speak. That's a beautiful thing. Let's see here, Nick. Will we ever get more videos like your Unix EDC? Well, I love that one. Oh yeah, absolutely. One of the comments and questions requests, that's the term I wanted. One of the things I get asked most often is for more in the way of sort of thinky philosophical videos, even above and beyond product reviews. And I'm going to keep doing both, obviously. I do love me some product reviewing, but I also really enjoy those kinds of things. And, you know, those things tend to happen just sort of when the desire hits me. If I'm just sitting there like, huh, that's an interesting video topic. Very often it'll get filmed that day, the next day, whenever I get a chance to. And I'll be kind of working on it subtly, and this is me working on it in the background there. I'll work on that subtly for a little while, but I definitely do plan to do more of those, right? Because they do bring me joy. They put a lot of gas back into the tank, so to speak. And that's a beautiful thing. It helps to avoid a little bit of the burn out there. Treddy, 7 Ready Knife Reviews, is asking me, did you strip the blue off the Malibu? I did. It is no longer Malibu. I just felt like the dark gray blade with the bright blue didn't go as well as this, and I saw EDC Gearhouse, actually the folks who made the Ontario Rat Benzer, the fancy Rat 2, this little dude right here, I had them do the Riano for me, and it turned out great. So I'm super happy about it, but yeah, that's a thing. Let's see here. Hey, thanks for joining, Free State fellow. Why don't we see more flippers on washers? It can be done well, so why not? That's a really good question, Free State. You know, honestly, part of it is it's a little more difficult to do well, right? Because washers, by definition, will have a little bit more in the way of friction, especially early on. And so I think for a lot of people, around the time when they started really getting the detents down, they also started moving to bearings. I do picture a world in which we see a renaissance of washer-based flippers and washer-based knives in general. Although I think flippers are actually sort of on the way out at the moment. It seems like a lot of the most exciting stuff coming out is back to thumb studs or other reliable, you know, old methods, so to speak. But I really do think that, you know, we're probably going to see a renaissance of phosphor bronze washers here, is because everybody's kind of gone over to washers now. I'm sorry, to bearings. And, you know, that's great, but there are disadvantages. Bearings work less well in sorts of dusty, scummy situations like that. So if you're dealing with politicians, you definitely want, sorry, actually, no, I'm not sorry at all. That's definitely a thing. So yeah, that's a really good, that's a good question. Let's see here. Hello, Nick. Where can I buy a Serge Panchenko Hawk Knives Orbit? I'm willing to significantly overpay. Do not be willing to significantly overpay. Look, the thing is, those kinds of knives are very difficult to come up with because there just weren't that many of them made, right? I mean, talk to the Hawks, talk to Surge, see if there's any plans for more of them, but I would really advise against, getting taken for too much of a ride, right? Put out a want to buy thing on a couple of, on forums and things like that, post around and see if somebody's got one that they're willing to let go at a price that's reasonable, rather than letting some, parasite take advantage of, your lack of timing, so to speak. That's definitely a thing. Let's see here. I know a lot about my knives, but I'm curious about my audio equipment. What do you mind sharing? I'm gonna go on ahead and assume you mean like home audio and listening stuff. Sure, why not? For home audio, actually, a lot of what I'm using these days are from Sonos, right? They've got the Sonos Playbase. It's what I use in my living room, and it is honestly 90% of a hi-fi setup in terms of audio fidelity. It's not the same thing, but it's almost as good in a tiny portion of the complication and footprint. So I feel very good about that. I use a Sonos Beam as well for my studio. He says his office. I use that there. And then for headphones, set of Sennheiser HD 650s, which I shouldn't have done. I should have stuck with the 598s. The 650s are great, but the curve of diminishing returns is brutal. And these days, I'm actually using an Apogee Duet to push them, because I find that A, I want that audio recording capture interface, and B, they push it just as well as anything else. So that's a really good question. Let's see here. I made a design for a one-hand locking ballast song. But before I start prototyping, I want to know if people would be interested. Thoughts? I don't actually have a strong sense of that, honestly. I don't know the ballast song market because I'm not nearly coordinated enough to know the ballast song market, right? Every time I've tried playing even with a trader, it's just like, oh God, I would hurt myself so badly. So, I mean, maybe, could be really interesting, but, I don't really have a good sense. Chat, and feel free to let the person know what they think. But yeah. Let's see here. If I owned a boat, what would I name it? Maybe I'm a basic person, if you will, but I think I'd probably name it after my wife, right? Let's put it this way. In No Man's Sky, which is a game I lost a large amount of my life to with great joy, every iteration of my ship had her first name. That's old school, perhaps, but it just seems like a cute thing to do. Hey, Mike Emler, good to see you. But yeah, so there's definitely that. Let's see here. Some people in here not getting into watches, or are getting into watches. Bad idea, people. But yeah, that's definitely a thing. Will I sell some of the gear I don't use anymore, like a garage sale? Yes, absolutely. Whenever I sell gear, it actually ends up usually going up for sale to my Patreon patrons. That's one of the perks that they get, is just first access, right? And the joy is that I know they're people who support the channel, and they're unlikely to just screw me over, right? And it's a slightly more trusted group. So that to me is it's one of the perks of being a patron, and it's one of the joys. That said, honestly, a lot of the gear that comes across my table ends up going up for charitable giveaways. I did one not so long ago, but I'll probably do another one maybe before the end of the summer. It'd be nice. But that's a really nice way to to go, right? That way I'm not having to worry about all the cash, and that way, it's doing more good in that way than it is otherwise. I can raise more money by doing that than I can by selling them and then donating the money myself, right? Let's see here. What else do we got here? Oh yeah, watches very, very, I'm sorry. Hold on. My wife looked at me funny when you said watches were a bad idea. Can I not right now? Okay, dear this person's wife, this person, it looks like Keegan5, he should get into watches. This one person, absolutely. This is the one person, you have married the one person for whom watch getting into is an excellent idea. There will be no addiction. There will be no, by the way, this is the American Watch and Clock Institute Builder Watch. We're in here. But he is the one person for whom watches are not a problem. And in fact, I'm sure that every watch he's ever gotten, he's gotten on drastic sale, right? So there's no need to even worry about it. Everybody else shouldn't get into watches, but Keegan5, he is special. So that is definitely that's a thing. Let's see here. What will be my next watch, and what Rolex will it be? Honestly, you're not so far off. If somebody called me right now and said, "Hey Nick, we have a Rolex 39, Rolex, one of the new Explorers, the Explorer in 39 millimeter size, not 39, the smaller one." I would probably that they just released. I would probably do it. That is the one Rolex that's really super appealing to me. The sub, I got lots of divers, right? GMT2 is again great, but I got lots of divers, a little on the big side. But that new Rolex in that smaller size sounds perfect to me, and it's about the only Rolex that's really that I think I could get into. So yeah, there is that. Let's see here. Thank you very much for the cute dancing fox with a paintbrush. I appreciate that, or maybe that's a Doge. Not 100% sure, but either way, it's something or another. Let's see here, John. Thank you for the donation. If I had $100 and needed a 3-inch EDC, what would I get? Oh, let's see here. $100. What's a good $100 3-inch EDC? Spyderco Chaperone FRN is a really nice choice. I think these are still under 100. They may be right in that range, but this is just a great knife, right? It's very portable. It's very thin. It's very so. I should carry this more. It cuts great. XHP. There's really not much wrong with the Chaperone for $100. So this is probably where I would send you. That said, the sky is your oyster when it comes to $100 worth of knife, because you get all kinds of other options like the Spyderco Dragonfly, as well as a bunch of the other stuff like the Ferrum Forge. If you can get it, this Ferrum Forge Stinger is another really nice option. A little on the bigger side. Oh, how big is that? It's 3.25. Okay, I tried. But that's another really nice option for you. And I mean, there are a couple of other good choices, but honestly, the Chaperone's probably where I'd send you first. Right? That's a thing. Yep, Slicey's got the Chaperone. Good. He called it too. Yeah, and especially in that. Can I talk a little bit more about my preference for plain edge knives over serrated? Is Spider Edge worth getting? That's going to come down to a question. Let's see here. I do have exactly one knife with serrations. Come here, one knife with... Okay, except for the Z Hunter. This right here is a Spider Edge serrated knife. This is a Spyderco... oh, what the heck are you called anyways? The baby salt, something like that, salt bug. Whatever it is, it's in H1, steel with serrations. H1 is a steel with serrations, makes sense because it's not going to hold an edge otherwise. But more importantly, if you're doing a lot of rope cutting, serrations might make sense. Or if you need something that is able to tear long after it's able to slice, serrations might make sense. But generally speaking, a well-maintained sharp edge will do everything, a plain edge that is, will do everything a serrated edge will, and more. You don't even need a bread knife, actually. If your regular knife is sharp enough, there's no freaking problem there. Let's see here. Hey, Nathan, good to see you. There is no desire for a Rolex Milgauss. No, not really. Because, I like the Milgauss enough, but I don't love the second hand on it with the lightning bolt. I mean, it's cool, but I just... That one never quite connected to me, even though it feels like it should, right? As a scientist, I feel like I should want every part of that. But if I want, anti-magnetic, I got the Omega already, right? Thank you, Michael, for the donation. I appreciate all that you just did right there. And presumably the rest of what you're doing is awesome, too. Let's see here. Do I still have an Umezon in the collection? I do not. The Umezon is a great knife. It's just a little bit big, a little bit thick, a little bit. It's just not my style. But that said, if somebody gifted me an Umezon, I'd be like, cool, I got an Umezon now. It's just not exactly the thing I'm after here. Let's see here. Do I like Mrbs by Shiragora more than other companies' bearings, or is there another company that does them better? Honestly, I don't have a strong preference on bearings. I mean, one of the nicest bearing actions out there is the Grimsmo Knives Norseman here, but and they do their own bearings, but at the same time, past the point, it's not about the bearing system itself. And MRBS is an uncaged bearing. So it's honestly a pain in the neck, right? Actually, I'll just leave the Norseman out here because why not? Let's swap some things around. So I don't know that I would recommend, any one bearing source over another. And frankly, Shiragorov knives were really they were the toast of the town in 2017 or so, but recently they have been caught up with as far as I'm concerned. Some of the other stuff out there is just as good as Shiro. And so I feel like I'm hoping that they do some more innovation, they really up their game, and they earn their price points again, because at the moment, honestly, I don't see anything that Shiro is doing that's all that special. I know those are shots fired for some, but at this point in time, it's just a brand that's not super interesting because the prices are just out of line. like I said, they're kind of skating on their fame a little bit there, on their early, well-deserved fame. Right now, they're still great, but a lot of other people are now too. Let's see, what is the most scratch-resistant steel or finish? I mean, the most scratch-resistant is going to be the hardest, right? I mean, here's the most scratch-resistant finish. This guy right here, this is the Sandrine Knives Torino. I say it's scratch resistant because what are you going to do that's going to make it look more messed up than that, right? No, as much as I kid, this is a very, very hard tungsten carbide, so it's going to be hard, pun fully intended, to scratch, and it's also going to, even if you do, it's not going to show up on there. And so, that's an option, but generally high hardness steels are going to be more scratch resistant because, well, in order to scratch something, you need to be harder than that. It's why when you're scraping butter, it doesn't scrape, the butter doesn't scratch the butter knife, right? So there you go. How do I approach buying a knife for someone? Honestly, the biggest thing I look for is sort of what is their level of comfort, right? Because, okay, if I were to, I want to buy a knife for my aunt or something like that. The Norseman's an incredible knife, but I don't think it'd be a great choice for her because that's not necessarily her style. Instead, she's a kayaker, right? She's in, does a lot of woodworking and such, so it's not like that would be the right choice. I think for her, I ended up doing an LC200N native because I think a native lightweight, because I think that was the perfect choice. But I kind of think about what their needs, like what their very specific needs are and how, what could intersect really well with that. The best knife for a person is very different than the best knife, generally speaking. And I think it's also important to remember that for some people, they would never carry a $600 knife, even if you got it for them, even if you could afford doing that. But yeah, just kind of customized is the name of the game there. The world is my oyster. Here's a little bit of that oyster. Thank you very much, Luke. I appreciate that very, very much. Let's see here. Hey, good to see you, Day. What is my favorite thing to do in San Diego? So I'm going to piss everybody off right here. I enjoy the weather. Right, San Diego, the weather in San Diego is not like some people. When I first came to San Diego in 2011, actually, I came out here for a conference. And I 100% sure thought that San Diego was tropical year round. This conference was in late November, as I recall. And so I packed, only the most, tropical of wear. I am an idiot. It's like 50 degrees here. But the thing is, weather in San Diego is just immensely boring, right? I have uninstalled my weather apps because I don't care. It's going to be rough. Like today, it's a little humid. So that's the thing I enjoy doing most in San Diego is just sitting with the windows open year round and not really super caring. In terms of things to go out and do, I really do like the Fort Cabrillo, that monument thing up on the edge there. I think that's really cool. What else is really nice? I think the Laguna Mountains are pretty excellent as well. The beaches, obviously, are a thing. If you like water, we got a lot of it right over there. And so, yeah, there's that. Listening to you from a college lecture hall. Pay attention. Oh, never mind. You work there. Different thing. But anyways, yeah. So I would say those are my big things to do in San Diego. Is check the beach, check the mountains, and just don't think about the weather. But bring something that's a little bit there. How's my Russian cousin? He's doing pretty good. He's been a little busy lately, but yeah. Hey, I've been recently on the hunt for front and top flippers. The Reverie caught my eye. Concept Knives Reverie, right there. This is still a really solid little front flipper here. It is just a very, very good little knife. I still like it a lot. And so, yeah, Concept Reverie is still a very solid little piece. And you can get good deals on them. Yeah, absolutely 100%. Let's see here. I ever thought about getting the Malibu? It's like maladapted Malibu. Anyways, I digress. The Malibu, no, I like it very much in this shade right here. That's a beautiful thing. Yeah, the Grand Seiko Summer. The Grand Seiko limited editions are beautiful, right? I really like some of Grand Seiko's stuff out there. I just, oftentimes, No, loom is my biggest killer. I like loom on a watch. Have I handled a whole haptic? I have. I'm hoping to get one of those guys once they're a little bit more available. Right now, it wouldn't do anyone any good for me to review one because you can't freaking buy one anyways. But yeah, it's a really nice little piece, and I think it'll actually fit my life a little bit better than the Spectre, frankly. Thank you very much, Nick. I appreciate that. Yeah, patrons do have access to my patrons-only Discord, which is a group of lovable jackasses who, yeah, it's one of the highlights of, frankly, the entire channel. The people there have brought immense joy to my life above and beyond just the support and the Patreon and whatnot. Let's see here. What worries me most about losing my anonymity? I honestly... it's not so much that I am anonymous, right? I'm not freaking Subcomandante Marcos over here. I just don't want to mix my work and my play life, right? This is a hobby. This is a thing I do separately, and although my boss knows and doesn't care, at the same time, it just feels like I don't need those things linked, right? Frankly, who I actually am is boring as hell. So to me, I just don't feel the need to be, front and center in public in that particular way. Right? I'm happy to just be a pair of hands that complains about knives. Let's see here. Why do custom makers tend to use blade steels that may not be considered higher end today? That's a fair question. I don't actually know. I mean, for a lot of people, it comes down to things like ease of polishing and ease of grinding. It is much harder. You need a lot more abrasive to grind down, really high hardness 20 CV than you might for 440C or something like that. And at another level, for custom makers, who's buying a Stan Wilson with the intent to carry it and do 50 feet of cardboard today, right? So I can almost see it. It makes some sense to me. But at another level, I do think it's a little bit disappointing that very often custom makers will be using, worse steels in a chemical sense than their the production collaborators. That said, heat treat is the biggest factor here, right? Because CPM 154 is a great steel, but it can be really, really great if it's heat treated very well. And so you're probably going to get better performance out of 440C that has been lovingly heat treated by a master knife maker with incredible detail. For instance, this is one of the things with like Grimsmo's RWL34. They put a lot of effort into getting every bit of performance out of that steel over somebody, for instance, if a company doesn't really run their M390 particularly hard, it may be a chemically better steel nominally, but it may be worse in performance. So you shouldn't count heat treat out. That is a major factor, and that definitely makes things a little bit better. Did I really beat Metal Complex in arm wrestling? I would never be able to do that in 1,000 years. That guy is freaking jacked. All the respect in the world, but there is no way in hell I could do anything. Yeah, I am not going to beat Metal Complex in any physical test of skill. Nope, absolutely not. Holy crap. Where is that? Let's see. Hey, Little Fit Devil, good to see you. What do we got here? What do we got? Have anyone ever seen the lockpicking lawyer and Nick in the same place? One of my proudest moments was when he followed me on Twitter. I really love lockpicking lawyer. I think he is an incredible, frankly, lockpicker. As a security geek, I love it too, independently. Like, my main area is cryptography. And I don't mean like Bitcoin. I mean like actual AES 256 style. That's a big hobby for me, and it's something I'm really interested in. But the physical security side of things is really fascinating as well, and he's just really, he's great at it. And he has a really good way of quickly, succinctly doing things. I have all the respect in the world for the lockpicking lawyer, both as a YouTuber as well as a product person. Just all the respect in the world for him. Absolutely a huge fan of his work. And so LPL he's a gem. But I am not him, unfortunately. The hands don't match up, and I haven't gotten... Well, I guess that was a click out of one, right? Nonetheless, I am not him, alas. I wish I could say so. Hey, Neves Knives, good to see you. Thank you very much, Happy Skeptic. I will not be skeptical of your donation. Let's see here. Credits the fans. Sell all your knives. Only $300 left to restart the hobby. Probably a TRM Neutron. I think that would be that's where I would start. If I just have to have one, that would probably be a good one. Is Do Not Get Into Watches my most algorithmically successful vid? No. The most successful, hey Solomon Roy, thank you for the donation. The most successful video I have ever done in terms of play count. You might be thinking, oh, well, surely it's a Terrible Knives Live. Surely it's Do Not Get Into Watches. Maybe it's my Quartz versus Mechanical or a review. No. The most successful vid I have is me getting my assets kicked by a push-pin watch bracelet, a cotter-pin watch bracelet. The video, I think, is like how to maintain a cotter-pin watch bracelet. And so it's me just getting this bracelet wiping the table with me for like half an hour, and people watch it. And so it's like one of the dumbest like throwaway videos I've ever done, but alas, it's super popular. It's bizarre. Have I seen the new Olamic prototype? No, I haven't, but I'd love to take a look at it one of these days. That's a beautiful thing. Olamic is a company. So this is the Olamic Knives Buska, and this is the Whippersnapper. And Olamic is a company that I really love to support and that I really love, generally speaking. The Buska was my knife of the year for, I believe, 2018, and 2017 got the 247, then the Buska was 2018. Either way, they're two-time winners of Knife of the Year, and just a really great group of folks, frankly. I've got an order in with Olamic right now. I tell them, as always, take your time, ship the other jackasses first. But I'm a big fan of their work, and so anything new out of them, I'm super excited about. Let's see here. Philosophy, that's not a question, but a statement, and philosophy is a great word. 100%. Let's see here. What do we got? Any plans for a UK-friendly lineup anytime soon? It's a good point. The thing is, laws are difficult and different. And I've already talked about a bunch of UK-friendly options, like the Spyderco UK PK is sort of my go-to, but there are a bunch of other good choices out there. So there is that. Let's see here. Am I into scuba diving? I am not. Not because I think it's not cool or anything like that, but I don't actually have the ears for it. I have the eustachian tube dysfunction, and as a result, my ears don't always properly equalize, and the last thing I need is an aggressive perforation of the tympanic membrane at 15, 20 feet down below the water. That would be a bad thing. So as a result, I am a collector of dive watches who does not dive. Isn't that a joy? So that is that's definitely a thing. When are you and Tony starting the podcast again? As soon as we can, my friend, as soon as we can. Have I interested the community post questions? No, I did not. I answered a couple of the ones from the Patreon ones, but I didn't see people leaving things on the cryptography, on the community page. Another cryptography mention. No, I am actually not a CIA spy. Although, actually, if I was, I don't know that I'd be able to tell you that. So that's not a really useful denial. But I'm not that cool. I would like to tell you that. Let's see here. What inspired you to make the My Gem EDC video? Honestly, a sincere desire to make people cringe, I think, was the biggest one of them. Right, I'll leave that out there. I'll swap this in here. Toss the whip snap in there. Yeah, that was mostly just sort of my trolling the universe, but yeah, I enjoyed it. We'll put it that way. There's a class of videos I make solely because they make me laugh. And you know what? I think that's good enough, right? That's something. Let's see here. If I couldn't do EDC, what other hobby would I be into? Well, I got lots of other hobbies, unfortunately. I'm into computers, actually, a fair amount. I've recently, meaning in the last year or so, well, 6 months, actually, I built myself a system. The big old Newegg Shuffle's been kind to me. But big old AMD box. Mostly run, I have Windows only for gaming, and then I run Linux on it for actual productivity and whatnot, although most of the time I'm still using my Mac because there were a couple of applications that are required of me that unfortunately do not work on the Linux side or do not work well. So that's a thing. Let's see here. But yeah, so probably computers would be a big part of it, and of course watches. But do not get into watches unless you are, what was it, Kevin V? In which case, then you're cool. Kegan V. Yeah, he's cool, but everybody else, nope, no watches. Jesse Minders asks, have you ever been to Europe? If so, what'd you think of us? If not, you want to go? I have been to the UK. We honeymooned in Scotland. But I have been to the Amsterdam airport 3 different times, actually four. Yeah, 4 different times. Oy, oy, oy. But it's more than that. But I've never actually left, right? So I've never been on continental Europe, which is kind of embarrassing, but it's the truth. I've been to Scotland twice now, but never went across the pond, so to speak. Let's see here. Best foreign country that I have visited. That's a good question. Mexico's pretty excellent. Got some political problems at the moment, but they got some solid stuff there. South Africa's interesting. Let's see here. I did like Scotland. It was we were up in the Highlands area more, and it was nice. Like Inverness, I could do that. I could live there. Or Edinburgh, frankly. Beautiful city. Yeah, maybe I'd say Scotland is my pick. I gotta give Mexico some love because I'm in San Diego. It's like 20 minutes that way, right? No, that way. But still, it's definitely there's a lot of joy out there. Eugene's been taunting me with that for almost a year. Oh yeah, yep, that can be a thing. Eugene, of course, being from Olamic, a gem of a person, but yeah, what do we got here? You can do all my Linux work on the Windows subsystem for Linux. No. The thing is, hallucinosis. I don't want Windows subsystem for Linux. Well, actually, I do. I want a Windows subsystem that lets me play games in Linux. But anything without Bash at the core, I don't. Yeah, Windows doesn't make too much sense to me, right? I'm a Unix guy at the core, and it just feels really weird to have my base of it be this inscrutable telemetry-filled mess, and then run Linux in a small little part of that, right? I want to put Windows in jail, not Linux, right? That's a different thing. Let's see. Have I read Catcher in the Rye? If yes, what knife would Holden Caulfield carry? Oh, that takes me back. I feel like it would probably be like some kind of. I feel like it would probably be some kind of slip jointy thing. Like not this exact knife, I don't think, but with the bail and everything, like a GEC boy's knife or something like that. That feels reasonable to me. Austin asks, what do I think of Tor knives? Actually, Tor is a company that I have not used any of their stuff yet, but they are not far from me. They're like 45 minutes away from me, I believe. And as a result, I'm probably going to go visit them one of these days. But yeah, that's a thing. Let's see here. Yes, if Windows rebased on the Linux kernel, I would be the happiest man alive. Because then that would be great. Let's see here. Any advice on how to buy Spyderco drops? Yeah, no advice here. It's just sad. Unfortunately, that is just a bad user experience. The sprint run thing needs to stop for a variety of reasons, but that bad experience is a big part of it. How's the learning to sharpen thing going? Pretty good, actually. Not only, basically I can do it. I can freehand sharpen, and I can get very nice edges on things. I don't always, but and I still use the KME on occasion, but yeah, it's still pretty solid, right? Let's see here. What knife did Indiana Jones carry in the Raiders of the Lost Ark? I don't actually know. Did he carry a knife? It's been a while since I saw Raiders, right? Take a tour. Oh, how did I miss that? Let's see here. I've got an Acta Non-Verbal review coming up here soonish. That's a thing. Let's see here. Da, 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 da. What is the one with the carbon fiber in the handle? That's 3 of them. This is the Native 5 lightweight carbon fiber S90V. This is a Brian Nadeau Micro Evo, and this is the Chris Reeve Knives Mundi. All 3 of those are really excellent pieces from my collection. Get Rich idea follows. Thank you later. Well, hey, I'm glad to hear it. Let's see here. What is my go-to meal when I am feeling lazy? That's a really good question. Sorry, it's really hot in here, so the sweat is running down my Batman mask down my nose from it. It's pretty unfortunate, but here we are, the things we do for art, right? Let's see. What's my go-to meal when feeling lazy? That's going to be pasta. Just go down there, toss a bunch of pasta in the pot, right? Throw some olive oil in at the end of it, maybe a little bit of mozzarella, make some, low-key mac and cheese, but that's about my speed in terms of cooking. Or that said, my go-to food if I'm feeling really lazy is just like Go to Carl's Jr., get an Impossible Burger or something like that. I don't know. Nickley wanted to know, what size mattress do you have? It is fit for a queen. There you go. Let's see here. Why Batman, not Spider-Man? Because Spider-Man's mask would muffle my speech a little bit more. Whereas Batman mask actually leaves the bottom half of the lips completely open and able to talk, see? Oh. Hold on, I need something a little bit more reflective than that. Here we go. Beautiful. See, right there. You can talk. I can talk just like that. Oh, hey, what's this? That's right. It's a Nick Shabazz t-shirt. Where is that available? NickShabazz.com/merch at our brand new relaunched merchandise store. Actually, that's been one of the things I've been working on. My merch master and I have been working on that. I'll go ahead and I'll throw the plug in there more formally. We've just relaunched our merchandise store. It's NickShabazz.com/merch. You're not, of course, obligated to buy anything, but anything you do buy supports the channel a little bit. But we did the change both to get more products as well as to improve the quality. Unfortunately, our last provider got a lot bigger during the time we were using them, and as they got bigger, the quality kind of tanked a little bit. So we've moved that on over. But NickShabazz.com/merch will always get you to the latest and the greatest there. Let's see here. All men should have an instructional pedicurial vid. It would be great for you to... So, Solomon, I appreciate that idea, but the thing is, I'm not necessarily sure I'm looking to post feet pics on the internet, right? No shame on the people who make a damn good living that way, but it's not my style. No, in practice, no, I'm not a beauty blogger. My wife could make a great video about that. I keep telling her she should do a nail, like the fake nails YouTube channel, because she's... big fan of that world, but not necessarily my style. I don't know enough about it to be able to do that. Right, but anyways, let's see here. When was the last time I used scissors? Today? Yesterday? Today, this morning, actually, to open a... I was downstairs, and I had not yet put on pants, so I didn't have a knife on me, so I used a set of scissors to snip open a drink mix sort of thing. Let's see here. Yeah, my merch master. Yeah, it's a great term, right? And Ari's great at it. So he's a gem. Are we going to get a Shabazz slicer down the road? That sounds like a burger at some place. Have the Shabazz slicer. I might design a knife down the road. The problem is I suck at knife design. Gonna need you to put that busker back on the table. I can do that 100%. No problem there, Day. So there is that. So yeah, Shabazz slicer. No, I'd be interested in doing that. And I've had a bunch of companies reach out and ask. The thing is, just I'm a food critic, not a chef, right? So it's not something that I feel like I'm qualified to do. And every time I try to do it, it ends up feeling very derivative. It ends up feeling something I'm not happy with. So I think I would much rather do what I'm currently doing, which is work with manufacturers to improve the stuff that they're doing. These are my stealth reviews, my consulting, which, by the way, I'm very happy to do. NickShabazz.com/consulting if you ever curious. But anyways, I'd much rather do that than work on something myself, right? That way a bunch of things get a little bit better than trying to, create something that is actually just me, when I don't have that skill set. I have all the respect in the world for actual knife makers, and I have enough respect to acknowledge that I'm really not one of them. It's not a world that I can do. What tools would my perfect Swiss Army knife have? Okay, good question. So, perfect Swiss Army knife. This is a little Swiss Army knife here. Actually, no, I'm sorry. I should put this one out here. Either way, these are both Swiss Army knives, for those of you not familiar. Swiss Army knives are a great idea, right? I think there's a lot of joy in them, and I think that, this one was a limited... Well, unfortunately, I didn't think it was going to be limited, and they said they were going to restock it, but they haven't restocked in a while, my Blade HQ Swiss Army knife. But if I could design a Swiss Army knife that had all the tools I want, there are a few things I would have in there. To start with, I would have a blade that's worth a damn, right? I would want something that's kind of ridiculous in there, like a K390 blade or something like that. That way I don't have to think about sharpening for a long time. A tungsten carbide would be great. Something like that would, I think, just be beautiful, and that would make the whole thing a lot better. I would want very little in the way of nail nicks. I don't tend to keep long nails, so nail nicks bother me a lot. Other tools that I would like to have in there, I mean, of course, the basics are a good idea, right? I would definitely want to have a small awl, sort of thing, like a little flat top. They can both be a micro screwdriver as well as a little chisel sort of tool. One thing I would very much like to have in there would be both a USB drive, like a little, USB-C thing, as well as a USB authenticator, like a YubiKey or something like that. Those are a really beautiful thing. They're great for two-factor authentication, and it'd be very nice to have one kind of built into there. But nonetheless, that would be a joy. Aside from that, honestly, I think Swiss Army knife designs are great. It's just the steel's behind the little bit behind the times for me. Hey, thank you very much, Fred. Goal, 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 goal. Sorry, the Mexico kind of got in there a little bit for a moment. Let's see here. What is my next knife purchase? That's a good question. Okay, I mean, there are a few ones that I'm kind of interested in at the moment. One of the biggest ones, like the Take My Money, Damn It. A couple, actually. One would be a custom version of the 80 20.5. Right, the moment the Demcos call me and say, Nick, we've got an Alti 20.5, ready for you. And by the way, I haven't confirmed an order or anything like that. They're not doing that yet. But take my damn money. I am all over that, like like oil on anything I've ever disassembled. That would be a thing. Also, the Koenig Knives Mini Arius is another one that I'm very excited about, and just waiting for them to have enough stock that it makes sense for me to do that. Let's see here. Nick, I'm just awful. Wish the Z Hunter on me forever. Love Wizards. Hey, Wizard. Good to see you. Here we go. Let's go on ahead and swap that out. Well, there we have it. Let's see. Other good questions. Does my love of Damasteel, this is from the Patreons, does my love of Damasteel extend into the rest of my decorative tastes? No, practically speaking, I tend to be relatively minimalist in a lot of the rest of my decoration. It just happens to be the case that in the knife world, maybe not quite so much. Grab a pen so I can cross these off as I'm doing them. Go ahead and get the Pocket 6 here from Shown Design. There we go. Done that. Done that one. Let's see here. And we've done that one. What else do we have here? Forced to buy 5 of the same knife. What would I choose? To be fair, I bought more than 5 Z Hunters. So that's maybe not a great question. But in terms of models, I would own multiples of... Well, I do own multiple TRM Atoms, and if they did a bunch of Neutron versions, I'd be all on that. What else do I have? A bunch of different models of. I do have like 4 different Delicas around, right? So I've got the Pacific, or the Salt 2, which is basically a Delica. I've got the VG10 size comparison Delica stand, and I got a K390 version, so that's... I own a bunch of these guys. But, nonetheless, there's that. And then, what else do I have? A bunch of 2 different pair of those, but that's more accidental than anything. Yeah, sounds about right. Let's see here. What does my wife carry at the moment? She does not actually carry a knife to work, just because of the kind of place that she works. It would not be a wise idea for her to carry a knife in there. Not a big deal, but it's just it's not something that she can carry there. But in days off, she will often carry a big old ZTO 350. So she's more hardcore than I am, as always. Have I been up to EDC Gear House in Traverse City? Nice shop, worth the trip. I've never been up there. I've been to Traverse, but that was before they were there. No, but they're great guys. I work with them a lot. They're the ones who did that Malibu. They're gems. Let's see here. What was my favorite knife when I started the channel? That would, of course, be your Spyderco / Bowie. That was a favorite and remains a very, very good choice. Let's see here. Have you ever bought a knife you already had? Yep. / Bowie. Sold it like an idiot. Bought it again. Yeah, not a brilliant man, but that's okay. What steel would I like TRM to use? Honestly, 20 CV's great. I got no real objection to it. Maybe Vanax would be cool to see down the road. But aside from that, I don't see any objection to what they're doing at the moment. Right? Coke or Pepsi? I assume you're talking about soft drinks. I'm actually pretty agnostic. You hand me a Diet Coke, you hand me a Diet Pepsi. I really don't care either way. They're different, but I don't care. In terms of bezels on a watch, I'm Pepsi bezel team, I think. The Coke bezels, the black on red doesn't do it for me as well as the black on blue. If I ever nicked myself while filming, that would be the Cold Steel Tie Light video. I did. It was not a brilliant moment, but that's actually the only time, which is sort of shocking to me. Let's see here. If I ever damaged a favorite knife, yeah. I've definitely put scratches on things, watches, knives. Thing is, though, if you use it and you're using it carefully, then that happens, right? But it just becomes a part of the story. You can't get too bent out of shape with it. It's life. Let's see here. Actually, at one point in time, I was carrying this guy, which is the Knife Nuts podcast Void. And I dropped this guy. I was out and about. I forget exactly where, but I dropped it, and I dropped it so hard that the inlay came flying out. And so I had to put the inlay back in. That was not great. That's not an issue with the knife. That was pure abuse, but it was not great. The knife ran great afterwards. It wasn't hurt. It was just a thing. But God, was that a pucker moment, right? If I'd had coal in my butt, I would have had a diamond. It was not a beautiful thing. So there is that. Let's see here. Best EDC under $200. That's an impossible question, my friend. There were lots of great choices out there. It really comes down to your needs more than anything else. Let's see here. Do I raw dog my phone or use a case? I use one of the Apple silicone cases. It's nice that way you can wipe it down periodically, sanitize it a little bit there. But yeah, that's what I'm doing there. Do I know K-Knives from Switzerland? Is this Roman, the guy who's doing a lot of high-end heat treat experimentation? If so, I don't know him personally or anything like that, but I'm very interested to see what he's doing. Yeah, let's see here. Okay, moving on. One of the ones from the Patreon patrons. How's it been going? Any new life things I want to share? What kind of things are on the theoretical horizon in terms of work, the YouTube, and general life? It's been going. I gotta say, the last year was a pain in the neck. Right? I mean, not just at a societal level, not just in terms of the collective suffering that the pandemic brought upon us, but also just in terms of, it's been a year of diminished resilience for a lot of folks, myself included. And for me, work went real crazy with the Rona, right? Just because everything moved online and I was in charge of coordinating that for a bunch of folks. It was really tough, right? Things are calming down now. Things are returning to a new and normal, which is a beautiful thing, thanks in large part to vaccination. And now that I am doubly vaccinated, and by the way, if that becomes a topic of discussion, people are gonna get banned, right? There's a reason this pandemic is lifting. And it's vaccination. Anyways, I digress. So, but as things are returning to normal, things are definitely getting better. And, things are continuing to go well at work. They're just very, very difficult, right? So there is that. In terms of the YouTube channel, honestly, not all that much is changing. I'm continuing to be fairly selective in terms of what I take on for review. I'm really gem hunting. I'm looking for the best of the best. I'm also trying to do more videos that are not reviews because I know those are interesting to a lot of people who might have found the knife they already love, right? And to branch out a little bit more. So that's a thing. Yeah, so absolutely 100%. That's kind of where I'm going with the channel, is just how to, continuing to take on reviews, but really focusing on bringing you guys the best of the best, the really good stuff. And by the way, I don't just mean the expensive stuff. I just today, actually this morning, filmed a review of this little guy right here. This is the Cricut Cinco. And this is a knife that actually really impressed me. It's $50, but it's a really well done flipper, right? And it's D2. There's a lot to love about this knife. And so this is absolutely a gem, and it's a knife I'm very happy to feature on the channel, even though it is budgety. So when I say find the best of the best, I don't mean the most expensive. I just mean the best for my viewers. And so that's interesting, but I also want to focus on stuff that's not conventionally, just review content, because so many people are asking for other of that stuff. Let's see here. Moving on. Have I tried the XM 3.5 skinny? I have not tried the 3.5 skinny. I tried the XM liner lock guy at one point in time. Didn't turn out to be that impressed. But, yeah, and besides, that's a thing. Can I say terribility? I absolutely can. Done an extended EDC video, but never an actual EDC. Any plans for one? Honestly, it hasn't changed all that much lately. On my daily life, what I'm carrying usually are my keys, right? My car key, my house key, my work keys. Pardon me. Carrying an authentication dongle, YubiKey sort of affair. Carrying a set of AirPods because they're just very good headphones. A wallet. At the moment, I have this bad boy right here from actually Lesbian EDC is the name of the maker. Really amazing. Let's see here. How revealing is all of this? Not particularly. Here's the inside of it. But anyways, I digress. So been carrying this wallet. I've been carrying what else? Chapstick, a pen of some variety, some Lactaid. I am tolerant to many things, but lactose is not among them. Yeah, but that's been my everyday carry lately. I also have another wallet I carry very often by K&H Leatherworks. That's good. Alfonso Grace made a wallet that I really been enjoying too. But yeah, that's a thing. Let's see here. Have I ever EDC'd toothpicks? No, not really. That's not been a thing that I tend to use that much, and usually in a place where I would need one, I can get one, but I don't tend to use them too often, right? Let's see here. Going to Blade Show West, I'm hoping to. It is currently very much in my plans. The world is chaotic. Who the heck knows, right? I was unable to make it to the regular Blade Show this year just because of work, because I had so much on my table. It just wasn't going to work out. And I felt very badly about that, right? That's a great show. I missed a lot of joy, missed a lot of friends, but at the same time, it is what it is, I suppose. Let's see here. What do I think will be the next D2, the next favorite budget steal? I'm really hoping that the next major budget steal, if things continue to come down in price and, steals continue, I would love to see CPM 154 end up there. Because it's a wonderful steel. It can be heat treated very well. It sharpens beautifully. I really like CPM 154, and right now it's firmly in the mid-range. But if that were to shrink down, or S35VN, maybe S45, either way, that would be another really nice steel to have kind of fall down into the budget category, because S35VN is an unquestionably good-to-go steel, as is CPM 154. Both of those would be really excellent if they ended up there. Let's see here. Considering buying a small Sebenza, what downsides do I know of in the Sebenza lineup? I've talked about the Sebenza a ton, right? This is a Sebenza 31, that is, Night Sky Edition. They're really great knives, but they're also becoming less and less unique every day. Right? There are many frame locks these days. There are many smooth frame locks. There are many knives out there that do the same things that a Sebenza does. The tactile turn Rockwall it's a very different knife in a lot of ways. It's a flipper rather than thumb studs, etc. The Sebenza is unquestionably a very good knife, but it's not in the position of supremacy I think that it used to be in. A lot of folks have, this used to be toward the top of the pack, but this is now sort of in line with a lot of the competition. So it's good, absolutely, but I don't know that it is the most, oh my God, thing that everybody should ever have in their collection. Here, I'll throw this on the table. Why not, right? But nonetheless, yeah, the Sebenza is great, but I don't know that it's the be-all and end-all that it is occasionally sort of portrayed as in the community. Yeah, we'll have the Norseman prop it up a little bit there. Beautiful. Let's see here. Yeah, CPM 154 is the powder metallurgy version of 154 CM. This is true. What's the weirdest smell I have ever smelled? Wow, that's a good question. I mean, clearly as a knife sommelier, clearly some of the stuff from the Terrible Knives Live last time, that was fascinating. Weirdest smell I've ever smelled. I don't have a good sense of that. That's a weird question, but a really good one. Yeah, I don't have a strong sense of that. Right? I would maybe argue that sensation when you walk into one of those, Bath and Body Works places where it's just like all the smells at once just attacking you. Like, that's really weird, right? That shouldn't exist. Hey, it's Staza. Good to see you, Staza. So Staza23 is another YouTuber. You should absolutely check him out. A solid guy. Thanks very much, Staza, for stopping in there and for the donation. Super kind of you. Samurai or turtle, which is the best? Yes, I mean watches, not the warriors of old. I don't know that turtles were warriors, except in the Teenage Mutant Ninja form. I would probably go with the samurai, personally. I just like the Seiko Samurai a little bit more. But the Seiko Turtle is great, too. How much would I have to super chat you to smell me? Actually, hold on. Got the iPad right here. Here's the message. Wizards, you smell like an iPad. So I'll take another $100 now. Let's see here. What else do we have? If I played Doom Eternal, I have not, but I'm planning to. I actually bought it in the Steam Summer Sale recently. I'm hoping maybe one of these days that I'll have the time and the energy, more importantly, to fire up the Twitch stream again. And Doom is one of those things I definitely want to do on there. So that's been a thing. Let's see here. People are asking if I have an OnlyHands. I do not. But there's that. Is Blade Show West as big as East Show? No, generally not. But who knows what this year is going to be like. I think a lot of people couldn't make it to Blade East this year or didn't feel like it was a wise thing. But I'm hoping that Blade West is going to be, it's a whole different city now. So we'll see what that ends up being. Let's see here. Yeah, this is joy. We got a lot of great reviewers stopping in today, and other YouTube content providers, Instagrammers, etc. Have I ever danced with the Z Hunter in the pale moonlight? No, I have not. I feel like that's giving my soul over to some force that I don't necessarily want to give it over to, and I feel like it'd have to be at a crossroads, and yeah, I'd have to stomp on an icon or something like that. That's not a thing. Am I gonna make another rap video? This has occurred to me, right? But I don't want to lose myself in those kinds of those kinds of videos. Let's see here. Other good questions from Patreon patrons here. How has what I carry changed as a result of the pandemic and a more remote living? Do you think it has changed my approach permanently? Yeah, so the whole pandemic thing has had a number of effects, the biggest one of which is that I've worked from home for roughly the past year. I went into the office for the first time since November a few weeks ago, and it was really weird and cool. Like, hey, I have an office. This is nice. But at the same time, one of the nice things about working from home as a gear reviewer is that you can carry whatever you damn well please, right? The lunchroom acceptability factor is not much of an issue because the person in the lunchroom is my wife, and she's used to my carrying absurd stuff. And so as a result, I could carry something that was, well, completely absurd and not particularly have to be concerned about that. So that was definitely nice. But at the same time, it also meant that I was out and about a great deal less, right? And so there was a little bit of less use going on. I had to go out of my way to do a little bit more of the using of gear rather than just happening sort of organically and naturally. So I definitely did affect that. The segment that it made very, very hard to review is bags, actually. I have actually a pair of bags from VanQuest and Nutsack that I have been sitting on for a while, but unfortunately, because I'm not leaving the house all that damn much, although that's changing now, I've just not had much opportunity to try them out, so to speak. And so as a result, those took forever and ever and ever, and are continuing to take forever and ever and ever, right? So that has been one of the biggest effects on me as a reviewer, is just that it's very, very difficult to review things like bags that are going to be, that's a factor. Oh man, it's a little hot in here. Do I really work with Edna from accounting? Is she real? No, she is not. Although Edna may be a composite of a few people I've worked with in the past, I very much appreciate all of my coworkers. And although there are definitely some folks who might dive under the occasional table if, I wasn't a little bit stealthy with it, no, that's mostly a joke at this point. Let's see here. Did I just say I've been sitting on a nutsack? Why, yes, I have been. It's right over there in the corner. Anyways, I digress. Better to make sure it's in front of you, though. So, the second part of that question, do you think it's changed my approach to everyday carry permanently? Yes and no. I think that I'm probably going to be... the other big thing is I'm carrying a mask, right? At least I have been, and I still am, just because right now I know there are a lot of folks who are still really uncomfortable in a, raw dog in the air, so to speak. And so as a result, if somebody's very uncomfortable, I'm more than happy to put that on just as a sign of courtesy to them. If somebody's immunocompromised, etc. So it's been helpful there. That became a part of my EDC that I will be very happy, or am very happy to leave behind, but still, it's a factor. But the other thing is it's made me carry things like hand sanitizer, and it's made me sanitize my phone more often, which is not just a Rona thing, it's just every damn thing is going to be a little better, right? I think, hopefully I'll get sick a little less than I did before because I've gained a lot of habits here, right? Let's see here. Has the TSA ever checked my bags and questioned why I have a Batman mask? That's a really good question. The answer is no. I have flown in it because very often I'll try and fly without a checked baggage, right? But as a result, I have flown with a latex Batman mask on a number of occasions for different trips related to the channel, and no one has ever asked the question. Partly because I think it's pretty boring, right? But partly because maybe it doesn't show up in X-ray, or maybe they just don't care. But my right now, my current strategy is if anybody ever asks, I'm just going to say, you know what? My wife really likes it. And that's, I think, going to shut the conversation down entirely. For the record, that's not a thing for her, right? She has gotten very, very tolerant of my walking downstairs in the middle of a video wearing a Batman mask or something like that. And she doesn't even, it used to surprise her, but at this point she's just like, oh, here's the jackass I married, right? But yeah, that's my current plan. If anybody goes there, right? So yeah, that's a good question. Let's see here. We got some people complaining about things. Cool. What is the knife in the lower left with the stripe of blue? That would be the Olamic knives whippersnapper, the whip snap. Any plans on getting CPM Magna Cut in hand? Yeah, absolutely. Here, I'll swap in this little guy. This is the Benchmade Spaced Out Bug Out, and we'll go on ahead and throw in the Brad Southern Mini Tolk. The Magna Cut, yeah, I am definitely working on getting some on my table. Thing is, I'm not like a steel tester, anything like that. I'd be much more interested in seeing like Pete from Cedric and Ada or Outpost 79, those kinds of folks getting it, rather than myself. But I definitely am curious, if it's going to be as good as it seems to be. That's a beautiful thing. Show you the Quiet Carry Waypoint versus the other silver frame lock on the table. Quiet Carry other silver frame lock. I don't even know what you're talking about there. There were a bunch of silver frame locks on the table here, but I'll pull out the Waypoint. Come here, Waypoint. Here we go. Quiet Carry Waypoint. Oh, I should probably put it not on the, not off the screen, right? Let's see here. What do we got here? What's something I absolutely don't want to review? That's a good question. I'm not super interested in knucks, like the brass knuckle things, A, because they're illegal, and B, because they're dumb. I mean, I get that some people enjoy them, but really, dude? And the funny thing about the brass knuckles is when you see the people posting them, it's always in an EDC with like 10 other things that are 10 times more lethal. It's like, in what situation do you end up going back and doing that? Let's see here. I'm glad to hear that. Somebody's finding my sense of humor worth a damn. Let's see here. But yeah, that's another area that I'm not in. The other thing is firearms. I have no passion for. It's not an area, and plus YouTube's already probably going to demonetize me at some point. That would just hasten the product. It's just not something that's interesting to me to review. So those are two areas. And ballad songs is the other thing. I'm not skilled enough. They're not legal here. It's not of interest to me. Let's see here. Do I feel guilty of being an influencer and part of consumerism issues at the day? I have a video about that, actually. I have a whole discussion about consumerism in the EDC world. You should check it out. But yeah, it's not great, right? Being an influencer is a term that I both hate and acknowledge probably applies to me. But you'll see people online, making fun of, and like, I too am like, oh God, is social media influences, what a, and then I realize like, oh, yeah, it's me. Damn. Well, I'm an asshole. It's not great, right? So yeah, that's, not 100% on board with the idea, but it is a truth, right? If you listen to my podcast while driving, are you under the influence? Oh yeah, that's a joy. How does it feel to be a bull to manipulate the knife market? I'm gonna go on ahead and assume that you mean able rather than to be a bull to manipulate it. Although I kind of love being a bull to manipulate it. That's like the sky is your oyster, right? Anyways, I don't know that I'm able to manipulate the market necessarily. I think that, anybody who has, some degree of following is able to play a role in it, but I don't feel like I am a taste maker or anything like that. I know it definitely, can spur some sales if I really like something, but at some level, I guess my feeling with it is that with great power comes great responsibility. And so if I have any power at all, I should be responsible with it. And more importantly, it sort of makes me very conscious of the decisions that I'm making, right? Of the companies that I'm choosing to feature, etc. I'm trying not to feature people who are doing unethical things like cloning and things like that. I'm trying not to, I'm trying to be good. And I'm more importantly, rather than punishment, I'm really trying to feature people who are kind in the community, who are welcoming, who are open, who are very, who are awesome to people in this community. I would much rather, whatever influence I'd have, I'd much rather that go to people who are very kind, who are very open, who are charitable, etc. And I mean this in terms of makers and other people, rather than people who are, well, doing ugly stuff, right? And so that's very important to me. And so I guess to the extent that I feel like I am a force, that's how I try and let that guide. Let's see here. Oh, Wizabs is breaking my balls over here. Yeah. Anyways, moving right along. Thank you, Wizabs, for insulting me at the same time you give me money. That's pretty excellent. I'll take it. Let's see here. What is something every reputable knife manufacturer should have as a common sense standard, but they don't? That's a good question. Come here, checklist. One of the things that I've had around for years and no one seems to notice is my excellent pocket knife checklist. This is a just document that I wrote up at one point actually for myself, just as I was going through a knife, just to make sure. But this is something that a bunch of people have asked me about, but it's available at nickshabazz.com/checklist. And it just has all of the things that I consider to be important to make a really excellent knife. Right? And I've tried my best to make this a very plausible, very reasonable, and very usable sort of thing, such that a new maker who's, designing something can look at this and go, yeah, check, 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 check. And the stuff on here is not hard, right? Some of the basics are like the edge is not touchable when closed. Yeah, that's a reasonable thing, right? Blade is centered when closed. I feel like that's a pretty low bar to set at this point in time. But nonetheless, it is definitely this is sort of the basic stuff that I want to see out there. Like easy availability, ongoing production, not limited edition. All these things, if a maker is doing all of these things right, then by God, they're doing things really right. But a lot of folks still don't do that. And maybe they have their own desires. Maybe they think I'm wrong about some of those things, but it's just always struck me as a really nice set of basic requirements. And, I think if more makers use that list, a lot more things would be to my taste. And I think a lot of those things, I try not to include too many things that are super subjective, right? That to me is important. So that's where I would go there. Let's see here, Wizabs. I love you, goofy bastard. I love you too, Wizabs. Let's see here. Hey, Frank, good to see you. Let's see here. Can I do another episode of the Knife Nuts podcast? I would love to. They just need to message me. Levon knows where doesn't know where I live, but knows where to find me. That's a better way to put it. They're great folks. I would love to talk with them again. All the respect in the world for them. And, here we go. Knife Nuts Podcast coin and Knife Nuts Edition knife. Here we go. Yeah, big fan. So anyways, there is that. Let's see here. What do we got here? Do I differentiate between quality of manufacture and practical quality? If so, what is my process for testing practicality? This was a Patreon question. So, that's a really good one, actually. It's very difficult to differentiate. Evaluating quality manufacturer is in many ways easier, right? But this is part of the reason why I cannot review something in a single day. When somebody sends me a piece that is like, oh my God, I need you to send it to the next reviewer in 2 days, it's like, screw you, no, I'm not interested. And the reason for that is because I need to carry it. I need to use it. And if there's something, because there have very often been pieces where it's like, this is really great, but your clip is awful. Anytime I put it in my pocket complains. Or, I tried to use this, but it's got the ergonomics of a bag of wasps, right? For me, that carry step is important. It's not something I can skip. And so as a result, that's kind of how I'm dealing with more of the practical functionality of things, and that ends up being very important to me. Oz Machine Company Roosevelt just dropped in there. So to me, I think that the process of carrying and using in my daily life is actually very important, and I think that's the best way that I can do that. Right? So there we go. What's a super underrated knife? Oh, that's a really good question. Where the heck did you go? This guy, Spyderco Native 5, lightweight in carbon fiber. Really, really good knife. It's a gem, but I just never really gave it the love. I think that's just one of the better things that they make, period. One of the things is super underrated. Underrated. Yeah, I don't know. The Aisha McKenna is pretty underrated. I think it's just a really nice little piece here. Yeah, lots of things. Hey, Sid, good to see you. Let's see here. Do you have days when I have no use for a knife and don't need to cut anything? Yeah, absolutely. I think that's definitely been a thing. And I usually on those days, what I end up doing is I find use for it. Right? I'll go down and I'll break down some cardboard boxes or something like that. Usually, and this is when I've got something in my pocket to review. Obviously, if I'm carrying something I've carried for years, not a whole lot of point in making work for it, right? But at the same time, that can definitely happen. So yeah, that's a thing. Let's see here. As a fashion blogger, do you see an efficiency of standard garment rotation for EDC akin to what I believe Einstein used? Yes, I am a capsule wardrobe person. More so in the pants domain than in the shirts domain. I have exactly one pair of non-dressy pants. I've got, a suit and whatnot. But I have 15, well, not 15. I think I've got like 6 pairs of the exact same pair of gray pants. They work really well for me, and all of the shirts that I have match those pants. So on a given day, when I get up, if I'm wearing pants rather than shorts, and I have 3 pairs of shorts that are all the same model of that too, if I'm wearing pants, it's just like, okay, grab pants, grab shirt, we're done here, problem solved. So I spend much more time thinking about my pocket knives and watches and whatnot than I ever do on my clothing. That is definitely a thing. Let's see here. Any chance for a Tuda 1926 review? I don't know what the Tuda 1926 is, but Tuda is definitely an interesting company. I'm trying to think, what is that? Yeah, maybe. Yeah, Tuda is interesting. They've been doing a lot of cool stuff. Let's see here. Just wear scrubs. That could work if I were a doctor. Well, I'm not that kind of doctor. I am a doctor, just not the kind that's, puts people back together. Right? I'm the kind who studies them instead. Well, and studies the natural world more specifically. What's the toughest animal you think I could beat in a barehanded fight to the death? Barehanded fight to the death. That's a really tough question. Like, I feel like I'd probably beat a swan. They're not very tough. They're just very mean. A Canada geese. Yeah, I could do that. I'm not really much of a hunter, though, so I just don't have a really good sense of how I would kill an animal with my bare hands, right? It doesn't make a whole lot of, I could make guesses, but that's the best they would be. It's not really something I've ever contemplated. Maybe a koala, I feel like I could win. Regular bear, no way in heck, right? Absolutely not. Let's see, honey badger, maybe. I could probably throw, anything that I could throw a sufficient distance, maybe. But that's about it. Let's see here. I do, in fact, have a doctorate. Not going to go too... Good Lord. Yeah, not going to go too deep into the specific field because that gets identifying right quick there. I'm not going to kill anything with my bare hands, mind you. I'm just saying, you asked me a question, right? That's a thing. Hey, Ari, my merch master just showed up. But anyways, there we go here. Can vouch for koala bears as a doctorate in jackassery. That is for damn sure. Yes. Have described myself as having an Indiana Jones aesthetic. Do I own a whip? That's one of those questions. I do, in fact, have a costume Indiana Jones whip. That is a fair question. And yes, that is a thing. Okay, which of these other YouTube or patron questions have I answered? I've done that one. Let's see here. Did that one. What other questions? Moving on. Metal Complex thinks he can kill a kangaroo. Metal Complex maybe could. I don't know. He's serious business right there. What is the question that the answer is 42 to? I'm going to have to build a bigger computer for that one. Let's see here. Do I like turn-based games? Not really. Not a big fan of turn-based. Much prefer, like KOTOR I could do, where the combat was turn-based, but I'm not interested with that. Let's see here. Um, the weirdest thing I bought on eBay. That's a really excellent question. A snowman lamp. I once, when I was very, very young, I had a little lamp that was a, glow in the, not glow in the dark, but it was like it was a snowman with a couple of color bulbs underneath it, right? And I had this as I was a child, and it was, I'm not a big holiday person, generally speaking, not a hugely celebratory person, I suppose. But at the same time, my wife said, honey, you should have at least one Christmas decoration that's yours. And so I had this lamp when I was a kid, and like a lot of stuff from my childhood, it sort of disappeared at a certain point. And so as a result, I didn't have it anymore, and I didn't have any like ornaments or anything like that. So I went ahead and I found the exact lamp that not the unit, right, but the same model on eBay. Actually, I did some research, Googled snowman lamp for like an hour, and I ended up buying the damn thing, and it was cheap enough. It wasn't like a super collectible or anything like that, but it was yeah. So I did that, and so now I have one Christmas decoration that I put out. So that's the weirdest thing I've ever bought on eBay. I think a snowman lamp. Let's see here. If I thought about testing out the Chris Reeves Sabenza Magna Cut, look, Sabenzas, if they go to Magna Cut, that's great. I just don't have a good sense of what Magna Cut's like yet, right? I don't have it's not been out in the wild long enough. Absolutely, if they do it in Magna Cut, sure, I'd love to check one out. But I'm pretty happy with the Sabenza I got at the moment. But thanks very much, Frank. I appreciate that very much. Let's see here. Let's see. People are trying to guess my field at this point. That's entertaining. Olamic Busker is thick behind the edge. Where could I get it hollow ground? There are lots of people who do regrinds, but that's what you're looking for, is somebody who does a regrind. And I agree. Unfortunately, the Busker is a little bit on the thick behind the edge side. They definitely could have done this hollow. I kind of thinned my edge out a little bit through sharpening, but that's the biggest downside to it, especially this blade shape. Let's see here. How much for me to play a D&D game? Oh, I would love to get back into D&D. I wish I had the time for it. Last I played a paladin at one point in time, and a gnome illusionist were my classes of choice. Also Shadowrun. But I rolled a pure AI character, which I really enjoyed. So let's see here. What are we doing here? Yeah. I mean, I've told people I work with sound, right? That's acousticy world, right? That I'm a card-carrying acoustician, but within that, it gets very quickly identifying there. Childhood movie that scarred me. Oh, let's see here. What movies scarred me? I watched, so this didn't really scar me in the classical sense. Look, I got scars, but movies didn't do them. No. I think the movie, I watched The Rock way too early. Not that it's a scary movie particularly, but the idea of chemical weapons were not something that I was prepared for at that age, right? Like I walked out of there like, oh my God, is that a thing? Does this exist? What kind of idiot would create this kind of thing? Oh my God. And so that definitely, finding out about that was not something that brought joy, right? I also stumbled upon arachnophobia at one point in time, just cruising through the channels, but that didn't bug me as much. Spideys aren't bugs, I guess. Anyways, hey, thanks very much, Sid. I appreciate your generosity as always. But anyways, yeah, I think that would be the closest thing I had to scarring me. But yeah, let's see here. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, chemical weapons scare the shit out of me as an adult too, right? But like, I'm slightly better able to cope at this point in time. Like, I now know that there are worse things that can happen to you. But still, anyways, I digress. Yeah. I'm trying to think about what else. Sorry, that kind of took the mood down a little bit, right? How often do I make the puns in real life? Disturbingly so. My poor wife, my poor coworkers, my poor people around me. It's just unfortunately, it's kind of like one of those people who has pathologically bad gas. It's just like if you're going to be around me, you need to learn to deal with it. I'm sorry about it. I can't stop it. It just happens. Sorry. There's no filters. Nothing's going to save you. If you're going to be around me, you're going to get puns. It's just the way it goes. Right? So there we go. Let's see here. If I ever met you in person without knowing about it, would the amount of puns I give be identifying? Probably the quality would be, right? But let's be real here. You'd figure it out before too long. If nothing else, you'd look at my hand like, wait a second, I know those hands. Those are little and a little bit bitchy. Wait, come on. Hold on. Yeah, I am indeed a punisher. That is for damn sure. If I were a Bond villain, which one would I be? I really like, I don't remember his name, but Tomorrow, is it Tomorrow Never Dies? The one with the stealth boat and the news media guy who was like, I think that's kind of my flavor of Bond villain is like information is power. Like that's kind of my approach, right? That movie turned out to be very prescient, right? With the idea of information warfare and all of that stuff going on. But I think that would probably be the closest I come to Bond villain status. I'd say, look, if I'm going to go evil, so okay, I'll answer an adjacent question. Nick, if you were to go evil, what would you be like? There's a very simple answer here, and it's the Merovingian from the Matrix series, right? Because Merv is a jackass, 100%. He's, a woman, all kinds of, things with him, but his big thing is that he has power based on knowledge, on information, on putting things together, on tying things together. And uses that power in the physical world, manifests it there. So to me, I appreciate very, very much his take on evil power, right? Of, knowledge is actually the power and being able to apply that knowledge in meaningful ways. That's how I would go evil if I were going to go evil. Matthew asks, what's the very best shopping system in my opinion? Let's see here. I would say, so best is a different question, right? Because there are lots of different ways to think about it, right? So one of the really good options that has actually just recently come out is, come off it, this little guy right here. This is the workshop system, their little fixed angle, and it's actually very, very good for the price, right? You can put a very nice edge on something relatively inexpensively. If you want to go more expensive with a guided system, then KME is the answer, no doubt. Absolutely beyond any shadow of a doubt. I really like the KME system. They're great folks. It's made in the States. There's a lot of joy to the KME. Aside from that, there's a lot of joy to learning to freehand sharpen, right? A set of die sharp plates will go very, very far for you. But those are kind of my answers for you. If you want cheap, I'd say that workshop system is very, very good. If you're willing to pay a little bit more money than the KME system or going with like the DMT plates will do you joy. 500, I'm assuming Swedish krona. Thank you very much for that, Ivan. Much appreciated. I'm going to go on ahead and assume that that's there's a different exchange rate there, but just in case, wow, holy crap, man. Yeah, there is that. Let's see here. Would you do a series on other countries and other, like best knives for dumb laws and things like that? The problem with doing that is that I'm not a lawyer, right? And I don't want to ever give legal advice on my channel. It's very possible for me to say, this is a knife that has these features, and I believe those features are, some of the things that are talked about in local laws. But if I start saying, these are knives you can carry in the UK, not that it's ever going to have, but I don't want somebody to go to jail on the basis of a video I make, right? So I can highlight, this is the length, etc. These are really good slip joints, etc. But I don't want to go there and say explicitly, if you live in Cleveland, because I can't give legal advice. I shouldn't do that. Yeah, I know that Chris Reeve did 10 Sabenzas in Magna Cut. The question is whether they're going to do more. My understanding is they're not, but I don't have that. I don't have that idea. Where do I stand in the carbide tear-out hypothesis? I don't have a strong enough opinion there. I don't know enough to have a strong opinion. It sounds very plausible, but like I said, that's not my area of specific focus, and so it's better for me not to have an opinion on it. But good question, absolutely. Let's see here. This is the over-lubricating lawyer, and today I have for you, and what I have for you today is, and I'm sorry, it's wrong. This is the lock-picking lawyer, and I can't do it. I'm sorry, lock-picking lawyer. Let's see here. Yeah, oh God, do not give legal advice is legal advice. That's problematic. Do I still use double-edged safety razors when I shave? Yep. Almost all the time. I will very occasionally do a straight razor shave, but for the most part, it's just double edge. Let's see here. Anything else? Oh, if I could go back and butterfly effect one thing of the gear industry, what would I change and what outcome would I hope comes of it? I would probably want to go back in time and try and temper the overbuilt fad a little bit. Just be like in the room when somebody proposed, like, hey, let's make the blade stock 5 millimeters thick. Like, really, guys? This isn't gonna age well. Just, hi, it's me, 2021. Not gonna age well. Let's not. Right? And then, because it can be there for a few people, but that was a few years that we're still living with the consequences of. I would butterfly effect that one away. Either way, that's a joy, and of course, Ivan, whatever donation you made, whatever that exchanges to, you are a gem. I very much appreciate that. Let's see here. Any other questions here? Well, actually, here, this is your last chance. I'm going to answer 3 more questions. 3 more questions, then I'm going to go on ahead and bail and take a shower to wash the Batman mask sweat off of me, which is not a sentence I figured I would ever be uttering as an adult, but here we are. Welcome to the club. Let's see here. We have favorite handle material and texture, probably titanium at this point still, and favorite texture, I do like a good stone wash. Although, again, texture is very unique, right? There are lots of great textures that are out there and possible, and each one is a little bit different. Here's another really nice texture from the James brand, the Bonds here. There's a lot of really nice textures out there. That one's hard to say, but I would probably just say titanium, generally speaking, is my favorite material. Let's see here. When am I coming back on Twitch? Oh, hey, Yona. Let's see here. I am hoping to do that in maybe the next month or so. It would be very nice. I am... Sorry, I am, but that's my goal here. I've really just been putting... Honestly, let's be real here for a second. Talk about, self-care, I suppose. The last year took a lot out of the tank, so to speak. Humans have a certain amount of resilience, and I was running on empty. Recently, a big work sort of project, if you will, a big push at work ended. And as a result, I've had more time to myself. I've had more time to relax. And a big part of what I've been doing is just putting stuff back in the tank. I've been playing some games on my own, like the Mass Effect series, Half-Life Alyx, that kind of thing. But, and oh God, Dyson Sphere Program. I love that game, but that game is so addictive. It's like Factorio, but in 3 dimensions. Anyways, I digress. But I've been just trying to put a little bit of energy back into the tank. And as much as I absolutely love doing things like this and doing things like Twitch, there is a little bit of drain. So I have been kind of holding back on that and getting myself to a point where I want to do it rather than I feel like I have to. So that's the main reason I haven't been doing that. Let's see here. Thanks, Wizards. And you actually like the money bullying, don't you? I like the money, certainly. And I think you guys are an entertaining bunch of jackasses. Hey, Scott, good to see you. But I definitely do plan to get back on Twitch at some point. It's just a question of getting everything set up and working, right? And let's see, do you wear the Batman mask in VR? No, although I could put Batman ears on the Valve Index. That'd be entertaining. Let's see here. All right. Have I been really had the Batman mask on in this video with a static angle of knives? Yeah, because that way, if I ever do lift something up and it shows a reflection, people, one of my very favorite classes of comments, and I get these probably 4 or 5 times a week on like old videos of watches or things like that, is somebody will watch a video and then they'll put in the comments with this look of like incredible, like, are you wearing a Batman mask? Why are you wearing a Batman mask? Oh my God. And that brings me so much joy because I can just respond, yeah, why aren't you? And they just like, their minds explode. And so for me, wearing the Batman mask, even if it's just for a fleeting glance in a watch crystal, even if it's is so much more enjoyable than not, that I am willing to sweat a little bit for that joy, for those things, for that situation. So anyways, I hope this has been interesting to you all. Thank you all so very, very much for joining in this video. Lots of gems here, lots of friends. Love seeing you all, and have yourselves just an absolutely wonderful rest of the day. You all are absolutely 100% certified gems. Bye now.